Hey everyone, this is Dr. Mark Arcuri this evening on Wednesday in Santa Fe, New Mexico again. A couple of weeks I'll be in Mexico and I can't wait. It's been way too long. But anyway, I'm in Santa Fe, New Mexico this evening, and it's Wednesday. It's kind of a multi-energetic day, I guess I would say, because it's not only Wednesday Hump Day, which happens every week, but it's also Ash Wednesday for people that follow a Christian path. And if you don't follow a Christian path, or even if you do, it's also the day after Fat Tuesday, which can be a difficult day for a lot of people, depending on what you decided to do on Fat Tuesday. And it's the beginning of the Lent season. Here in North America this afternoon, we have a new moon in the sky, and wherever you are, it'll be a new moon at the appropriate time and date as well, whether it's tomorrow or yesterday, depending on where you happen to be. So we've got the new moon energy, we've got the Ash Wednesday, spiritual energy, religious energy, we've got maybe a hangover energy from Fat Tuesday, and we've also got the beginning of Mercury retrograde, which goes from now until, I believe, March 28th. I think that's correct. So we've got Mercury retrograde, and if you haven't experienced that in a conscious way, meaning that if you don't really know what Mercury retrograde is, it's when things seem to get all wonky in the universe around you as related to communication. So you want to be real careful during these next couple of weeks of getting too involved in commitments that rely on communication to go off perfectly. Things like contracts, written contracts, any other kinds of contracts, important conversations with people, things that you really, really need to depend on to work out in a certain way. You've got to be careful. So communication is a big part of that, and communication in its many facets. Lots of computer problems this morning on my end, as Carlos can attest to, when we tried to have a meeting. Didn't work out too well, but we got that solved, or at least we got it patched up, I should say. But so you can expect computer problems, telephone problems, cell phone gets turned off because you just forgot to pay the bill, which never happened before. Anything is possible, so be careful. But lots and lots going on this Wednesday. But it's also a perfect time, because of all these things going on, to consider how it is that we respond, or more likely, if you're like most of us, react to what's happening around us, whether we've caused those things or not. We live in a reactionary world, and especially certainly here in the United States, but I also know in probably every part of the world except the most remote, undeveloped places that maybe wouldn't be watching anyway on Facebook Live because you don't have the technology to do so. But we live in a reactionary world because things are happening so quickly, and they're just coming into our experience, and we don't have the ability to control the stimuli, or in many cases to keep up with the stimuli. It's just too much. You know, we used to say back in mental health that one of the hallmark experiences in schizophrenia is that things come into consciousness so fast that the person can't process them, and they just sort of detach from the reality of what's going on because they can't keep up with it. But in our world, there's so much going on, and I don't remember the statistic, but the increase in information that we're being bombarded with day by day is exponentially increasing over time very, very quickly. And so in a sense, we're all having that schizophrenic experience where our brains we catch it all, but we can't process it all. So we're completely overwhelmed, and we tend to react in situations because we don't have time to step back and respond, because if we step back and respond, 10,000 more things happen in that time period, and now we have to try and catch up with those things as well. So it's a very, very difficult no-win situation. But because of that, it's ever more important to try and find a way in our experience to step back and be mindful, and to tell ourselves that it's okay, I guess is one way to say it, that we don't catch everything, and that we'll train ourselves to catch what's most important, and we will intentionally respond to those things as best we can, and try not to react too often to what's going on around us, which turns out to be much more of a random experience, and isn't usually something that helps our growth going forward. So in our Paradise Rediscovered for 2019, and in A Recipe for Living, which is the segment we've been working on for the past few weeks, or several weeks, the next step in that process is finding a way to let our emotions in the moment come to us and move through us. And what I mean by that is that when we have an emotional response to something, we're certainly we become aware of that. But instead of reacting based on that emotion, we allow the emotion to simply move through us and to go on so that we can go on with our lives without getting stuck in that emotion or reacting to the emotion and doing something that we may regret. So, in terms of how we do that. It's sort of counterintuitive because we're not, we're used to being aware of the emotions that come through our lives, and we're used to doing something with them. And we've been taught to do that. It's very human to do that. But there's some value in stepping back again and sort of just letting them move through us, because I like to think of it as a wave on the beach. And that wave rolls in. And even if we don't do anything, that wave is going to break, it's going to crest, and then it's going to move back out again. There's nothing that we need to do to make that happen. It's a natural response. It's gravity on the earth. And it's the same for us. If we have an emotion, and particularly if it's a strong emotion, whether good or bad, but probably more useful if it's a bad emotion, something that we're uncomfortable with, if we just let that emotion be for a few minutes, it will crest, it'll peak, it'll increase to its height of intensity, and then it's going to begin to subside. And as it does, it's going to roll back out of our life and move on, and we can continue on with what we were doing and not be too affected by it. So another analogy is, so this recipe for living in 2019 that we've been working with the past several weeks has all been ingredients to what I like to say is baking a cake, and finding the ingredients, putting them together in the way that we want to, so that we, in the end, get the cake that we want to bake. So depending on the ingredients we have, we can configure them in all different ways. Maybe we can leave some of the ingredients out, which in today's conversation might be some of the emotions that come our way that we don't necessarily want to incorporate into our life or into our cake. But we have the choice to use those ingredients in a way that bakes the cake that's going to give us the most satisfaction at the end of the day. So, but if you think about how you actually bake that cake, you've got all these ingredients, you put them together in whatever way that you do, you get it all ready, you put it in the oven, unless it's a no-bake cake, which is not what we're talking about. I'm not even sure how good those things are. But we put the cake into the oven, we turn on the heat, and what happens? The temperature begins to rise, right? But the cake doesn't react to the change in temperature as much as it's changed by the change in temperature. So as the temperature rises, the ingredients are changed in an important way that causes them to shift how they are individually and how they are with each other, and they end up creating this cake. And the emotions that come through us are the same way. We don't have to, the cake doesn't rebel against, I guess, the heat is one way to put it. And the same with the emotions that we're faced with every day. We don't want to rebel to those emotions. What we want to do is just sit with them and let them come through us, just like the heat does in a cake in the oven. And we want to let those emotions begin to change us in an important way. And the changes might be a new insight that we gain as a result of experiencing whatever we did that caused the emotion that made us stop for a minute and notice that something was going on. So perhaps we gained an insight. Perhaps we learned something about ourselves in the process. Perhaps we were motivated to try a different approach to whatever the situation that caused that emotion. So something about us was shifted, and as a result, we became something different in that moment. So that's what I want to impress upon you this evening, is that if you practice stepping back when you notice yourself getting emotional in a situation in the coming week and beginning to react, if you can just stop yourself. And it's not going to happen the first time you try it. It takes a little bit of practice. If you can stop yourself a little bit sooner before it becomes a full-blown reaction the first time, that's great. Next time, a little bit sooner than that, and a little bit sooner than that, and a little bit sooner than that. Eventually, you'll be able to stop yourself from reacting as soon as you're aware of that emotion. And you just sit with the emotion for a few minutes. And maybe even go back to an exercise that we did last year where we talked about asking the emotion what it's here to tell you. So if you're going to react to it in any way, let it be more of a response and asking that emotion, why are you coming up in this moment? What is it that you're here to tell me or teach me or cause me to understand a little bit differently? And get that insight, get that information, and then use it and see how you can benefit from it. So instead of reacting, you're stopping, you're being more mindful, perhaps having a conversation with the emotion, and then you're taking whatever information you get from it, whatever learning, whatever knowledge, accepting that that is there to change you in some important way, just like the cake. And then you're going to have the cake. You're going to be finished with it and you can move on. So you're letting the emotion come to you, impact you in some important way that's useful, and then move through you instead of being stuck with it. We talked, actually, I'm not sure if I did. There's a book called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. And it's a fantastic book on stress psychology. And the book talks about how when a zebra is out in the wild, it may be grazing in the meadow, and it becomes aware of a lion stalking it, and this lion is basically going to eat it. So the zebra notices, it looks up, it notices, and it just scrams. It takes off, it gets out of there, and it has that immediate stress response, and it's changed in some way. It's frightened, and it reacts, and it's gone. But then the zebra gets to its new place and it goes on with its grazing. It doesn't hold on to that stress. It doesn't hold on to the fear. It doesn't hold on to the emotion that was caused by the lion stalking it. It gets over it. And that's what I'm suggesting that we do more of. And by letting that emotion move through you as you react to situations this week and move out of you and have you changed in an important way. So think about that this week and see what you can do with it. And let us know in the comments below what your reactions are, responses are to that, and what your dilemmas might be if you have any difficulty with it. We'd be happy to answer those questions. So you can do that on Facebook in the comments section. You can do it at drmarkarcuri.com if you're watching this video there. Or if you're listening to a podcast, an audio cast, you can certainly go to drmarkarcuri.com and take a look at the contact page and send us an email and let us know how it goes and if you have any questions. We'd love to get the dialogue going. But in the meantime, I want to remind you that we do free giveaways every month, and tonight we're going to announce the winner of the February giveaway. So I'd like to do that in just a moment. But before I do that, I want to remind you we've got a new giveaway going up, and the giveaway for the month of March is a free copy of the Life Aligned workbook. So a softcover copy of that, along with a free coaching session to get you started on using that process. So we'd love to give that away to you if you go onto Facebook and click on the free giveaway tab, or if you go to drmarkarcuri.com and click on just about any page, you'll see a sign-up form where you can sign up for that contest. And I do want to remind you that if you have signed up before for contests, whether you have won or not, you do need to sign up again for this contest if you want to be part of it, because we don't want to spam people, and we don't carry names over from one month to the next. So be sure to sign up for those giveaways at drmarkarcuri.com. You're also going to find a free downloads page with a bunch of different tools and different things that you can download for your use that are free on your journey of rediscovery. And there's also a page for some of our e-offerings, including coaching sessions and an upcoming, very, very soon, we'll be announcing our Life Aligned e-course that a lot of people have requested. So I can't wait to do that. That's going to be a really fun, interactive e-course that we're going to be doing that is going to take you through the Life Aligned process and move you to a new place in your life. That's going to be fantastic and just full of manifesting everything that you want to have in your life. So this month, we've got number 11 on the list, and I don't know if this is a first name or a last name based on the email address, but the person did write Rayo, R-A-Y-O, in the first name space on the sign-up form. So Rayo, if that's your first name or if it's your last name, you are the winner for February's contest, and that is for a signed copy of Life Aligned along with the first release of the Life Aligned workbook. So we want to get that out to you. Carlos will be reaching out to you by email if you're not listening to the broadcast tonight, and getting your snail mail address so we can get those books out to you, and hopefully you'll enjoy those and make some enormous changes in your life, and let us know about it on Facebook or on the webpage or by email. So thank you so much for entering. Congratulations, and thanks everyone else that entered as well. Feel free to, as I said, to enter again for this month's contest for the free copy of the Life Aligned workbook and a free coaching session to get you started. So make sure you sign up for that. And next week we will be back, and let us see what our topic is going to be. We'll be almost to the wrapping up point of our recipe for living in 2019, and the topic is going to be decorating your cake. So I will be going through a process of putting that cake together, putting on the final touches, and turning it into exactly the manifestation that you'd like to have in the coming weeks and months ahead. So thank you so much for being here once again. As always, this is Dr. Mark Arcuri in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Lots and lots of love and gratitude, and we look forward to hearing from you and to seeing you again next week. Thanks so much. Good night.